Welcome to Simply Liminal. My name is Stacy. This is my reading for the spring equinox this year. This season is also known as Ostara if you follow the more pagan calendars. It is associated with the dramatic goddess Ostara. She was Anglo-Saxon goddess as well, associated with eggs and rabbits. In the dawn, in new beginnings. This spring equinox is, of course, associated with the east, also with the dawn, new beginnings, freshness, spring after releasing winter. I've always found it interesting, of course, as a kid, I didn't really understand, the association at Easter time, why we decorated eggs, why we had Easter baskets, why we had chocolate rabbits, or we see rabbits at this time of year outside in nature, but also sometimes as gifts for Easter time. And all of this is related back to those earthen religions or practices or spiritual ideas that came before the advent of Christianity, before Easter as we know it. This season is also associated with the Norse goddess Idun. She is associated with rebirth, also associated with apples. Which I always find to be an interesting connotation. That also brings up to mind the Greek pantheon and their practice or beliefs around the spring and fall equinox. And the spring equinox for them was when the goddess Persephone had to leave her husband Hades in the underworld and return to the earth and her mother Demeter and regain or retake her role as the goddess of spring. Now, in the fall, when her work is done, she goes back under, joins her husband Hades in the underworld, and becomes the queen of the underworld again. So it's very interesting. Of course, the Hades and Persephone story is tied mostly to pomegranates and pomegranate seeds, but some ideas associate her with apples as well, Persephone. So a lot of these things tie together quite nicely. Of course, I'm in the northern hemisphere, so this is the spring equinox coming up for me. It's on the 19th where I live, though it's like around 9 p.m. But everywhere in the United States, I believe, and Canada will celebrate this on the 19th, but the majority of the world will celebrate the spring equinox on the 20th. This is also known as the vernal equinox, of course, with respect to the people in the southern hemisphere who are actually approaching the fall equinox, where the days are getting shorter and the light is getting less. But we right now here in the northern hemisphere are making our push towards spring, towards more light in the world, longer days, fresh grass, trees starting to bud out. That's the season that we're embracing right now. I will say that I personally have felt the change of this season. It feels like it came on days ago. And some of this energy was unexpected, and some of it really not welcome at all. But I'm trying to have some grace and acceptance with these changes that have come into my life that I wasn't ready for. And I am ready to embrace this spring equinox and the season that's coming, and to see where it's going to take me, while absolutely remembering everything that came before us. As I have done with my other readings, my Yule reading at the winter solstice, and then the Imbolc reading at the cross quarter, kind of between then and now, I'm using the Denise Lynn deck. It's called the Sacred Forest Oracle. Might be kind of hard to see the words as they're in gold, kind of shimmery. There, maybe that's a good way to look at the cover of it. or the title of the deck. It is the Sacred Forest Oracle by Denise Linn. I'm actually working with Denise Linn for my weekly or my daily readings right now, so it's kind of fun to tie this back to her. She has wonderful card decks. She is an author of books as well and teaches online courses. A very special teacher and a wonderful guide, and so I appreciate her insight. With my previous readings for these seasons, I have done a 7-card reading, and that's what I'm certainly going to do right now. I'll let you kind of look at the back of these cards. It's just beautiful. They're very kind of fantasy, fairy tale concepts. We have a lovely young lady riding a Pegasus, and there's just shimmering stars behind her in the night sky. Probably some aurora borealis, and also mists in the forest trees below. Beautiful deck, and I'm excited to look forward to this, the insight that this reading will give us. I've opened a circle of light and love and protection around this reading and myself, which extends to you all. So whoever watches this reading, know that you are protected. I also call in my spirit guides and guardians to help me be a good channel for this information, that I receive the message with ease, and that I'm able to transfer it to you all in the collective, as well as myself, who I consider part of this collective that I'm reading for. And I'm very much looking forward to what this reading will show us. I do also want to mention that the I recognize that there are 4 major points in our earthly year as the earth transverses around the sun. We have the solstices, the summer solstice where the days are longer, much longer than the nights, and the winter solstice where the nights are much longer than the days. Those are kind of the opposite polarities of the year. And then in the fall and the spring, we have the equinoxes where everything is in balance. I feel like this year there is a lot of shifting energy. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, a lot of stuff going on in the solar system with astrology. So we're feeling all of that energy. Lots of changes coming. And hopefully the change is going to be much better on a worldwide level than the stumbles that I've had so far in this season. And technically the season is only just begun. But like I said, I feel like this energy, this shift already is happening, is occurring. And we've been seeing some of that. So with this reading, what I have done is I have looked at, with my 7 cards, I've looked at the energy for the season that's coming in. So we have our 1 energy card, and then I look at 3 cards that help me look at things that need to be released. Released from the last season or even the previous season of Yule, so we can move forward. So we're going to look at 3 things to release. And sometimes this release will be passive, though I believe that some of it will be stuff that we need to actively release as well. On my March 15th daily reading, I talked about the Ides of March and how the senators made an attempt, well, did attempt to kill Julius Caesar because they feared that their republic was at risk, that he was going to assume power as a dictator and name himself emperor. And so they murdered him. And the interesting thing about that was they thought they protected themselves, but what happened was his heir, Augustine, or Caesar Augustus, as he became known, just rose up in his place and actually made himself emperor, and he was the catalyst that ended the Roman Republic. So sometimes you can't avoid change, and it comes whether you're ready for it or not. And I feel like in my personal life, that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. As I said, trying to use some grace and acceptance for that, but it's not always easy. It's not easy at all, actually. And so then we're going to look at 3 things that we are going to bring in or initiate for this spring season. So we'll look at our initiation cards. Now, I will read from the cards intuitively, but I'm also going to read a bit from the guidebook because Denise has gorgeous insight here, and I want to do due diligence to the card deck to you know, to look at her insight and talk about the things that she's trying to bring to us or that she's channeled through with this deck. So let us look at the energy that's coming in for this Ostara season. We have the Spirit Guardian of Autumn, which is interesting. And the message is letting go. Of course, autumn is at the very opposite of spring. So if there was any little bit of autumn still with us, now is the time to let go. I'm also learning in my own life that there are things that we need to let go of, whether we're ready or not. But this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful artwork on this card. And so I see this interestingly as release. We need to release. Like the trees drop their leaves every year, like dandelions go from yellow to white with their seeds, and they release their seeds into the world. We need to release gracefully and gently, if at all possible. Sometimes the trees need a wild wind before they'll release those leaves, but sometimes just a gentle breeze and a stirring will do it. So I think we have both of those energies that come at us in the month of March. March is kind of a funny, shifty month. It's like winter doesn't want to give up, but spring's like saying, yes, it's time, absolutely time. So let's look at what Denise has wrote in here. I gotta find the guide here so I can read this with the intention that she meant for these cards. Okay. Sorry. So, the Spirit Guardian of Autumn, and the message is letting go. Red, orange, yellow, and brown leaves flurry around you in the warm autumn wind. A small zephyr creates an upward spiral of leaves, directed by air spirit in a dance of color and light. In the great circle of life, the trees lose their leaves in the fall so that new growth can occur in the spring. This is part of the natural cycle. And so right now we're in the spring, and we're on the opposite end of that autumn cycle. Her message is this: surrender. All is well. You don't have to do it alone. The Creator is at your side. Letting go can heal the need to be in control, the stress of unfulfilled expectations, the anguish of needing to decide how things should be, and the tension of wanting others to act in a particular way. These things lead to unhappiness. Letting go opens a space for relaxation, healing, and success. Okay, so this is the energy that's coming to us. I think we're in store for a lot of change. And I think the message here is to let go. Sometimes we can't stop the change. Sometimes we can't buck that energy. We just have to gracefully allow it to happen. And so I think this energy coming at us about letting go is hopefully to help us just relax and ease into this season. Okay, let's look at our things that we're going to release to help bring this energy in. And I'm sure interested to see what we need to release from the previous season. So our first card here is Butterfly Spirit, and that is transformation. So we're releasing transformation, which is interesting, but I think it, you know, really, we've spent time in the winter, even since Imbolc, we've been stretching a little bit towards spring, but we're still kind of in a protective cocoon. And now that's done. It's time to emerge, you know? So we're really leaving that cocoon behind. This is our time for transformation is here in the past, in that cocoon. And what's emerging from it now is going to move into this spirit of spring. So let's look at what this card says. It is beautiful, beautiful artwork. All of these are just gorgeous. So Butterfly Spirit, the message is transformation. It says, you receive this card when you are in the process of change. Old structures, beliefs, and ideas are falling away to be replaced with vitality and new pathways. Soon you'll be seeing the world in a fresh way. You're at the beginning, in the middle, or at the completion of an enormous transformation in your life. Don't hold on to old structures and limited ways of thinking. Even if it looks like you're in murky water and things feel confusing, and even if it seems that everything is dissolving around you, this is only the clearing that occurs just before rebirth. It's all in your highest good. Remember, you are safe as these changes occur around you. So I think this is a really powerful message because it does feel uneasy. Change feels uneasy. I think this card is telling us, yes, change is coming, but it's going to be okay. It's giving you the strength to move through that, and we're going to move on to what we're going to bring in. So let's look at our next card here. We have Willow Spirit, and that is flexibility. Now, of course, it doesn't seem like we would ever want to release flexibility, but there is insight for us in the cards, you know, in the messages that she gives us. Look at this, is beautiful, beautiful artwork. Willow Spirit, she is definitely a gorgeous fairy, and there's willows here. My parents have a beautiful willow in their backyard. Sometimes slaps me in the face. But anyways, gorgeous trees. They are flexible. They are graceful. And we can learn a lot about how we should be by being like the willow. Allow yourself to be flexible. Allow yourself to bend. You don't want to break. Let's look at what she has in here for this card. Because as I said, I feel like her insight in the deck really can explain how these are things that we need to release. Like I feel like the butterfly spirit is telling us that we are releasing old structures, old beliefs, or old ideas. These things are falling away. And then we're going to be replacing them with something new. And so the Willow Spirit, let me get to that area of the card here, or the deck. The book, sorry. Willow Spirit is about flexibility. It says, this card encourages you to be flexible in your life. Be willing to bend and even to yield. There is a power in doing this as a choice rather than as a forfeit of your will. Even though there are times to stand strong, sometimes the greater valor is to let go around a situation rather than face it head on. Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes the greater valor is to go around a situation rather than face it head on. Being adaptable, you can succeed, whereas someone who is more rigid may not. In rough winds, the strong oak tree may break, while the willow can bend without snapping. Adjust to life rather than fight it. Surrender to the process. As the willow can weather storms, so you can weather life's challenges. Again, this card is telling us that part of how we need to release things is to be adaptable. Don't be strict. Don't be firm in structure. Allow a little bend. So release those things that hold you back. Let us look at the next card we have here that we want to release. And we have the Enchanted Fern Grotto. And the message here is refuge. And of course, this kind of ties to the butterfly in a sense. To me, I get the feeling of like being in that chrysalis state. We need to release that. And here, I feel like we need to maybe release our refuge, our safety. We are in a period of transition, and we can fight it, and we can hold back, or we can allow ourselves to go. So I think that we need to release that safety and refuge feeling that we've been having. Nobody wants to really feel unsafe, but sometimes that's part of moving forward. So let's see what she has wrote about the book. And I'm trying to hurry this up because I know that you guys have other things to do. But I do think the messages are beautiful. Let's see, 66, that's a special number. So, Enchanted Fern Grotto, the message is refuge. This is a time to go within. Seek and find your inner refuge. But remember, this is something we want to release. Take time for deliberation and reflection. In times of retreat, you can truly hear the voice of your soul. But we're past that now. That's why we're releasing this. These were all things for the winter. We were in a state of refuge. We were cozy and warm, but change is coming for us as we transition into the east and the bigger, greater things that are happening in our world and in our solar system. So it's time to release that safety and allow yourself to move forward. So let's look at the things that we want to initiate in this new season. So our first initiation card here is elves. And it's playfulness. And so that's interesting. You know, of course, everybody likes to be playful, but it's sometimes hard. You know, like adulting is difficult. And sometimes adulting doesn't allow us to be playful. I mean, we have bills to pay. We have a work schedule to keep. We have rules and restrictions that we need to live by. But where we can and when we can, we need to find playfulness into our life. I'm excited to embrace this playfulness card. Let's see what Denise has written about it. Sorry, trying to get to the right spot here. I feel like I'm alphabetically challenged. Oh, because I'm looking for the word playfulness and not else. Sorry. 64. So, elves, and the message is playfulness. Allow your inner child to play. Embrace your innocence. If you have been taking life too seriously, this card reminds you to lighten up. All that is required of you is to enjoy yourself. If your responsibilities and hard work have clogged your life force energy, it's time to give yourself a break and have some fun. Nurture your spirit by doing something unexpected, madcap, or even silly. The greatest gift that you can give the world is your joy. So make play a priority. Embrace your innocence, it says. Let go of heavy responsibilities. Give yourself a break. Nurture your spirit by doing something fun. Joy is as important as sustaining yourself as the food you eat. So that's a strong message for us. Playfulness. Our next thing that we want to bring in is air spirit, and that is knowledge. And this really makes sense for this time of the year. East is associated with air. Spring is associated with east, therefore air. It is also an association, air is associated with wisdom, knowledge, innovation. The Greek god Hermes, known as Mercury to the Romans, the bringer of messages and knowledges. This is what we need to initiate in our life. Allow that air in, allow that knowledge in. That's a gorgeous card. I'm just going to bring this up here one more time so we can look at it. I'm still working on my lighting with this deck. This deck isn't shimmery at all. It's a bit muted, but gorgeous. She is standing there on this boat associated like with a swan, and it looks like orbs or multiple moons in her hand. Gorgeous. So let's look at what the message is in the book. So, air spirit, the message is knowledge. You receive this card when you need to think things through. This is not the time to be impulsive. Aha. So we be playful, but don't be random about it. Do not be impulsive. Do not react instinctively to situations and people. Take into consideration all the points of view. Do your research, listen to others, speak your truth. Take time to weigh the pros and cons of the situation. Again, this reminds me of Hermes or Mercury. It's a very mental card. So knowledge, put some thought into it, put some research into it. Let your decisions be based on that. The spirit of air says, inhale, take a moment to think things through. Think as well as feel the right direction. Get clarity and become focused before stepping forth. Take care to have thoughtful communication with others. All right, so let us look at our last initiation card for this season, and we have Unicorn card, and the message here is purity. Isn't that another lovely card? It actually makes me think of the unicorn. Well, it's a Pegasus on the back. I'm getting my mythical horses jumbled in my mind, but we have a unicorn here. Gorgeous, 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 and orbs of light just shimmering around it. So purity. And let's look at what Denise writes about this card. Trying to get to the right spot in the book. So, unicorn. The message is purity. It says, this card can appear when you are ready to step into the innocence of a child and see the world with eyes of wonder, which kind of hints back to the playfulness card that we had. Traditionally, unicorns represent purity, innocence, hope, faith, and high ideals, as well as miracles. When you stop looking at the world through the lens of your past, you'll find how fresh and wondrous the universe truly is. The past doesn't need to define you. Know that life can begin fresh and new. It says this card can also appear when there is a need for inner purification and renewal. Take time to release what doesn't serve and support your life, and watch the miracles unfold. Now that sort of ties back to transformation, because we're releasing that chrysalis now. That period that we've been in transformation, we're releasing that so we can move on into this element of purity and innocence and playfulness, but with knowledge behind it. That's going to really help guide us. I feel like we need to be light in our thoughts, pure in our thoughts, but allow knowledge to guide us. The spirit of the unicorn says, no matter what happened in your life, step into your innate innocence. You have a pure soul. You are a child of the Creator. Let go of the past and see the world with new eyes, and almost miraculously, wonders will abound. So this is an interesting reading for this spring equinox, our Ostara season. I feel like there's a lot here about letting go. A lot of things, you know, the message is, the energy is letting go. And we've been in a process of transformation, and we're letting that chrysalis go now. We need to allow ourselves to bend a little bit, but not too much either. And refuge. We need to release refuge too, because while refuge is shelter and that makes us feel safe, sometimes that hinders us from change. And change is what's coming. And we need to embrace that with the playfulness of a child, with the purity of a unicorn, and the knowledge of a mental being, you know, that touches not only on your intuition, but on the knowledge that your senses can give you, the knowledge that books and ideas and research can give you. And when we do all of that, we're going to see a great change coming. But ultimately, it's about letting go this season. Something that I am learning all too personally. And sometimes we don't have a choice. We just have to let go. And that's the way the world works sometimes. We don't know Spirit's plan for us. You know, we're co-creating with Spirit, but we don't really have a roadmap. And we make the best choices we can and do the best that we can. But know that Spirit's still in charge of us. Our divine Creator knows what's going on. This world is a complicated, confusing place sometimes. And ultimately still, we just need to trust. So trust that the energy of letting go and release is coming for us this season. And just allow yourself to relax into that. That's the advice that I'm taking away from this reading. I hope you found this reading helpful. I hope you've connected with it in some way. Please like, please subscribe, please share this video. I would love to hear any comments you have about these readings or about this deck or other Denise Lynn decks that you might have worked with. Thank you so much. Have a blessed and beautiful spring equinox. Have a beautiful Ostara season. And if you're down there in the Southern Hemisphere, I wish you all the best with the energies you're dealing with as well. Thank you for visiting Simply Liminal with me. My name is Stacy. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful spring equinox season.